Just coming down from the high that was the Boomers. Yes, the Australian Boomers beating Argentina in the quarterfinals, smashing them. Sorry, Argentinians, but it was a smashing. And they're going through to play the USA in a couple of days. But you didn't come here to hear about that. You came here to hear about something else that is giving you a high, Miami Heat fans, and that is the signing of not just Kyle Lowry, not just PJ Tucker, but also Duncan Robinson re-signs. And all of a sudden, a team that I thought was probably just a tier below contention when you have the Bucks and the Nets and what they've been able to do, really elevating themselves. The Heat bringing in Lowry, bringing back Robinson, and also Tucker, it just puts them back in that tier, in my opinion. At least on the surface, that's what it seems like it'll do. And that is huge, because Miami are a team that we saw them go to the finals last year. People want to call it a bubble fluke. We know it's not a bubble fluke. I don't even need to get into that. I made a video on that like a week ago or something, saying this is a team that they had a lot of issues this year when it came to protocol. A lot of things went against them. They lost a lot of games with players missing. And in the end, the second half of the season, or not even the second half, after like the first 15 games of the season, after they got healthy, they were like the 9th or 10th best team in the league. So they were a good team this year, and then they struggled in the playoffs, which is why you need to go out and get someone who's a proven playoff performer in Kyle Lowry, and another guy who's a proven playoff performer and just the most recent NBA champion in PJ Tucker for 2 years, $15 million. I do not mind that deal at all. I don't know how he's going to hold up in the regular season for the wear and tear of the regular season, but maybe he doesn't need to. You just need that guy to pull up in the playoffs, similar to Kyle Lowry, because the Heat are going to be able to win enough games. They've got Bam, they've got Butler, Robinson, they've got Tyler Hero, who's still going to be a good player in the regular season if they keep him. They've got enough guys to make an impact and win you games in the regular season. It's about lifting your ceiling. It's about going up against a team like Milwaukee again and not getting swept. That's the reality. That's what you do this for. That's why you sign veteran guys like these guys who are coming towards the end of their career but still have a lot to offer, and a lot they will offer. Now, before I even go any further, if you could drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, that would be much appreciated. I'm covering free agency every single day, multiple times a day, so that would be cool. It helps out a ton. Nice. But basically, let's get into the Kyle Lowry thing, because this is a guy who I'm a huge fan of. Greatest Raptors player of all time, NBA champion, someone who has stepped up in big moments. I just think back to last year, because we don't want to think back 5 years or 3 years in the past. No, I just think back to last year in the bubble. This is someone that had a huge series against the Boston Celtics that nearly led to them going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, you know that back and forth series the Heat had with the Celtics? That could have been a back and forth series between the Heat and the Raptors, and the best player on that Raptors team at the time, which was just last year, was Kyle Lowry, who was putting up big performances defensively. He was locking in, he was getting rebounds over centers, he was doing everything that Kyle Lowry does and everything that you love in a guy like him. He was putting his body on the line. He was making big shots, whether it was posting up. There was one shot where he made a faded one-legger on like Daniel Tice or someone. I don't remember it, but he was just great. He had an absolutely great series, and he proved that he is still a star player. He is still a star player. He's coming off a season where he averaged about 17 and 8, shot 40% from three. We know what he's going to provide. He's a great playmaker. He's a good defender. He's not quite a great defender anymore, but he's still a good defender, an upgrade on Goran Dragic, which is huge. And shout out to Goran Dragic. He is now left. He's in the sign and trade. I don't think that's really been revealed, the details yet. Will he be rerouted or not? We don't know. But shout out to Goran Dragic, because obviously Miami Heat fans have a lot of love for him. I imagine you do, because he was fantastic, and he really stepped up in the playoffs last year. You could not doubt that. Even this year, he was pretty good. He was one of the only guys that didn't underperform. He had some decent games, but in total, Lowry is a better player. He has been a better player, and right now he is a better player. That's just the reality, and this is someone that is an NBA champion for a reason. He is a Raptors legend for a reason, the Raptors' greatest player of all time. You're not getting in someone who's just cool. You're getting in someone that can make a genuine difference. And also that difference can come in the form of locker room, can come in the form of leadership. These are the kind of things that you need. You need guys that are going to step up. Jimmy Butler is obviously a great leader. You've obviously got a great coach in Spoelstra. You've got a number of guys that are good there. Tucker's going to help as well in terms of leadership. But you can't have too many. Well, maybe you can if they're going to clash, but I don't think they're going to clash, because I think Butler and Lowry have a great relationship. They know what needs to be done. They know what they need to do, and I'm excited to see that. Getting back to the play style, he fits well. This is a team that needed shooting. They lacked shooting severely, but they also needed shooting and defense. So they couldn't just get someone who would shoot the ball. I mean, Duncan Robinson is kind of that guy. They needed someone who could not only shoot 40% on high volume, which is what Lowry has been able to do for several years now, come off screens, off the ball, move around, create his own shot. They needed that guy, but they also needed someone who wasn't going to be a slouch on the defensive end of the floor because Dragic, Hero, Robinson have all been guys who have been targeted. Robinson is still going to be someone that's going to be targeted. I don't think he's a terrible defender, but he's just not a great one. And when it comes to playoff time, if you're not a good defender or if you're just below average, you're getting targeted. You're getting targeted. That's what's going to happen. But 5 years, $90 million, it's a lot of money. But we have seen he's proven it in the playoffs. That's what matters. He hasn't been an unbelievable playoff performer, but he has proven it in the playoffs. He helps the Heat so much. I mean, they just need him. They need everything he brings. He's off-ball gravity. Kyle Lowry is a good shooter. Duncan Robinson is a great shooter. There's a difference. And everything he does, even when he's not making shots, you need someone like that. He's always moving around. He's always just drawing out guys, and that opens it up for Bam. It opens it up for Butler. It opens it up for everyone. So there's just absolutely no doubt in my mind that Robinson re-signing, even though it seems like a pretty lofty deal, which it is, was the right idea. He's better than the likes of Bertans, probably better than Joe Harris in that kind of mold. Slightly different players, but we're not getting into the white shooters. We're not getting into that right now. Shout out to Robinson. He got paid. He deserved it. He's going to be hugely beneficial for a team that has lacked shooting. Getting back to the playoffs last year, they lacked shooting. Game 1, they had a chance to beat Milwaukee, couldn't hit the side of a barn door. Or was that Milwaukee that couldn't hit the side of a barn door? Maybe it was Milwaukee. But either way, the entire series, they couldn't hit the side of a barn door. They struggled from 3. They struggled creating their own shot. Butler got locked up in the paint, as did Bam. They didn't have enough spacing because the defense was just collapsing inside, and, well, inevitably, we saw what happened. So now, all of a sudden, you bring in a good shooter in Lowry, someone who's just going to provide different playmaking as well. He gives you a different asset to have alongside Butler. He's someone who can create his own shot. He's someone that can lead the second unit if, say, Butler goes to the bench and whatnot. You need someone who can split the time between when Butler's off the floor and when Lowry's on the floor. You get the point. It's just going to be a great signing. I don't even need to go into too much depth about it. This is also a team that was a good defense last year. This was a top 10 defense last year. I talked about the last 50 games of the season or so because the first 15 games were plagued by injury and plagued by protocol, and they started their season real slow. But after that, they were a top defense. They pride themselves on defense. They've always been good at that, and they're going to continue to be good at it. They're not getting any worse anytime soon. With Bam anchoring the defense, Butler being Butler, Lowry being Lowry, and so on and so forth. And that's where Tucker comes into play as well, because this is someone 2 years, $15 million. Yes, he is coming towards the end of his career. And yes, he doesn't have as much to give as Lowry, evident by the fact he got $15 million over 2 years as opposed to $90 million over 3 years. But he still provided a huge role for the Bucks. He still won a championship and played like 30 minutes a night in the playoffs. He's someone that you know can go out there and you can put on the other team's best player or one of the other team's best players, and he's going to harass. He got some huge pivotal offensive rebounds. I know he seems like an offensive non-factor, which he's kind of close to being that. He's still a decent shooter, I think. He just had a bit of a slump in the playoffs. He shot just over 30% in the playoffs, but I believe he can still be somewhere in the 30s, the mid-30s from threes, particularly those corner threes, which is kind of all you need from him. So hopefully he can get back to that. But defensively, he's a pest. He's going to crash the offensive rebounds. Similar to Lowry, similar to Butler, you're starting to really get an identity here. That Heat culture that everyone talks about, just being that scrappy team that's going to go out there and win every single possession, dive for every loose ball. Again, it sounds a little bit cliche. These are the guys that you want in the playoffs, and you've now got multiple of them on the same team. So that's a recipe for just success, in my opinion. That is a recipe for success. You're giving yourselves the best chance. You're not going to be able to match the talent of the Nets. You're just not. Everyone knows that. Well, let's be realistic. But one thing you can do is put in guys that are going to hustle, that are going to outwork everyone. And that's what you've got with the Heat right now. This is a team that's shaping up really nicely. I want to see what else they do. I don't know how much else they can do because they've spent a ton of money. I don't know how the cap works too well, so I don't even want to get into it. They've spent a lot of money, but whatever. It's working. Butler got a huge contract as well, which might look bad in a few years, but if you win a championship, which you now have a chance to do, no one is going to care. No one is going to care. So that's the end goal. And re-signing Butler was a must. Signing Kyle Lowry was a must. Tucker is an absolutely huge addition. And re-signing Robinson was a must. So you got a couple of musts, a couple of huge additions, a big re-signing, and the Heat go from a team that was average offensively to hopefully maybe a top 10 offense with the addition of Lowry. Tucker's not really helping them offensively. Maybe you take a leap with Hero, who I still believe does have potential to be a really good spark plug off the bench. If that's all he needs to do is just jack up shots off the bench, he could give you that Jordan Clarkson type of role. He is that kind of guy. I believe he can be that. So if you get that from Hero, all of a sudden your offense might go from average / below average with a good defense to maybe a good offense, like a top 10 offense, and then with the good defense that you're going to build, that's the makings of a championship level team. That is the makings of a championship level team, and Heat fans should be excited because it's a 1-year absence from the finals. You might be going back. Let me not get ahead of myself because the Nets are good. The Bucks are really good. They're both really good teams, but the Heat are now back in contention. That is for sure.